Attillio, welcome. I'm glad you took the opportunity to join me on this journey so we can explore
Well, thank you very
individuals,
much.
individual stories, insights, experiences that you can share for others to know and understand exactly what takes place in the auto industry, right? And my mission is to bring about the awareness of the individuals who work behind the scenes, who make it possible for families to be safe, right? Logistically, where you have a lot of truckers, drivers who do deliveries. You have Uber drivers now who make it convenient to even deliver food, right? To
Yeah.
needy people, especially now in this time of the COVID. A lot of people now rely on Ubers and Lyft and the gig economy, who rely on their motor vehicle. Their motor vehicle right now is the main asset that keeps food on the table, right? But at the same time now, we have to pay homage to individuals like yourself who work behind the scenes diligently and have the wealth of knowledge to know exactly what needs to be done, to make everyone feel safe, right? So this is like a thank you scenario for individuals such as yourself. I know it may be a little bit overreaching, but at the same time, no, this is some way of paying back the respects for certain individuals. But I tell you, enough of the rambling about me. Let us get into the story. Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, let's see. I started my apprenticeship at a dealer. It was called York Toyota. That was back in October of 1992.
Okay.
And it took me about a year to get registered as an apprentice. I mean, I
Okay.
always knew I was going to go into cars. I loved cars. And since, grade 9 automotive class, I took automotive every year, basically, that I could.
Mhm.
I always loved cars.
Yeah.
So I knew it was, pretty much early on, I was going to be a mechanic or something along with automotive.
Yes. Yes.
So in the first year, after I got registered, I did a Toyota MAP program, which was 38 weeks of straight school. It was the second year Toyota had offered it. So you went to Centennial College, you had dedicated Toyota trained teachers, but really being their second year, they didn't really have Toyota knowledge. They were teachers who had been at Centennial College for years.
Right.
They were
Right.
a branded Toyota teacher. So,
Yeah.
but we had a lot of Toyota books, and this was geared towards just technicians who were working at Toyota dealers. Apprentices, not technicians. Apprentices were at Toyota dealers.
Yeah.
And we'll give them more Toyota experience than the general domestics that they had to learn off of. So we had donated Camry and a donated Corolla to work on. And personally, for me, I wasn't a big Toyota guy, but after years of working at Toyota, I was there till it changed. I think 95 became Dave Nichols Toyota.
Okay. Okay.
So out York Toyota,
Mhm.
new owner came in, and he changed everything up.
Yeah.
And Dave Nichols Toyota, I left 99 to go to Woodbridge Toyota, which was a lot closer to where I lived.
Okay.
So living with my parents, 25 now. At the time, 25 at the time.
Yeah.
And, being close to my parents was a lot better.
Yes.
I can go to work and come home for lunch.
Mhm.
It was great. So, but it was actually took me a while to become an apprentice. I tried for about 6 months after I finished high school to get an apprentice. They just weren't hiring apprentices. And I started at a garage for 3 days, and then he said, "I have no work, so I gotta let you go."
Yeah.
I worked in the shop for 3 days. I didn't really do anything, and then he says, "I gotta let you go."
Yeah.
So it was a tough time to get into that trade. And then especially to sign up, people didn't want apprentices. They wanted licensed guys.
Yes, yes, because I remember back then before 1995, a motor car was well, I wouldn't say a scarce commodity, but if you compare then to now, it's really wasn't as much. So they didn't have time to use, the little guy to come in to train them on all these things. They just wanted persons to come in, fix a car, the car goes, because at that time you didn't have much cars coming in order for the amount of work to be shared amongst the amount of individuals that were there.
Well, and also the fact that you're working on an import. There wasn't many Toyotas, there wasn't many Hondas. It was all the big three.
Yes.
You had a lot of Ford, and you had people who were, lifelong Ford, lifetime Chevrolet, lifetime Dodge people.
Yes, yes. So, because back then the car would stay in the family for like generations. It handed down from the grandfather to the son, and then and then the son and the father will hand it down to his son. So it's three generation of cars.
Yeah, and your 1989 Corolla would run out in less than 5 years, and you'd be getting another Corolla.
Yes, yes.
They lasted mechanically, but the bodies were still pretty bad.
Yeah,
a lot of rusting issues back then.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I stayed with Toyota. My whole career was with Toyota. I went to Woodbridge, and when I went there, I was able to become a pro technician through training at, going to the head office. And from there, 2003, I ended up buying my first house, getting married, and starting at another dealership in Mississauga because I got a better offer.
Right.
All in the same month, October 2003. Put my down payment on my house, moved in a month, got married at the end of the month, and I started a week after I got married. All in that month. It was crazy time. But Mississauga was one of the only dealers that actually had a union.
Okay.
A unionized shop, and everything was different from everything I had learned.
Yeah.
You had to take a union mandated break at 10 o'clock. There were a specific time when you had to take your lunch. One team went at 11:30 to 12, another team went from 12 to 12:30, and another team went from 12:30 to 1. And you had to stick to that lunchtime.
Yeah.
Your break time at 3 o'clock, you have to stop working. There were a set of rules that I never experienced before.
Yeah, as you go along, things and time changes. Yeah. Different environments. Yeah.
And even with the people who had been in the dealership for years being unionized, you kind of had to go with them. You couldn't be an individual in a unionized shop.
Right.
But you had much better benefits, and it was tough to want to give up those benefits to maybe be a better individual. But totally different experience. It's unionized became, there is a brotherhood of unionized members, and that kind of took precedence over customers because there were so many rules. Every day you'd get a memo on what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
So there was a whole issue with, people coming to try and break up this union that had been there since 1968 before Toyota. So, and there were still staff. The two parts guys had started 1968, 1969, and there were two technicians who had been there since 1970. So they've been there, and before I was born, these guys were working at this dealership, which was, previous dealer.
Yeah, usually parts guys, they don't go anywhere, right? That's what I've noticed when I've worked at different dealerships in the past. You will go there and you'll have at least 2 or 3 guys who actually started with the company, and after 20 years they're still there.
It is hard to get a good parts guy, one who knows exactly what needs to be done.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sometimes you can pull a kid off the street and get stuff done, but a good, knowledgeable parts guy is hard to find. So if they do know what they're doing, they do stay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess it's not easy. I mean, parts guy will have if he gets the wrong part, the technician can give him the bad information, or there's a work order with the bad VIN number. The technician chooses out the parts guy.
Yeah.
Or if a customer over the counter gets the wrong part or something's not what they like, that parts guy gets chewed out. So I've seen parts guys get chewed out for a lot of stuff.
For a lot of stuff. That is common, because before all this technology in parts, like the electronic parts catalog, they have manual catalogs. They have to look up the information in the manual catalogs, right? And then they have the bin cards. Then they have to go to the bin cards and look at the information there. And because inventory was done manually as well, because they have to, when you sell an item, you have to update that card to ensure that the right quantity is in the location. And then you go around the back and then you have to manually look for these items. So it's been an evolution, so to speak, of where parts is coming from to where it is right now. Everything is computerized.
You know what? It has been a blessing. Toyota has gone through a lot of changes with their parts. The best thing that they have now is if we don't have it, the dealers are connected to each other, so they can see which dealers have the part, how much quantity. It does save a lot of time of phoning around and, oh, do you have this part? Here's this part number. Oh, I'm on hold. So yes, they are progressing, but it's still a slow
pace. Yeah. Maybe because I wouldn't say that. I would play devil's advocate here. Maybe because we're living in a microwave society. Everybody wants everything instant. Because let's say, for instance, we live in North America, right? Toyota is one of the leading manufacturers now. The way they do things, their logistics is impeccable. But at the same time now, what is happening is that you can get your parts within 3 days, right? You can get your parts within 3 days, whereas other dealerships, other manufacturers, it still take them more than a week to acquire a certain part, right?
It takes actually longer.
Or it takes actually longer. Or there is a system now, even though it takes three days, a maximum of 3 days, and it's overnight for emergency parts. There are certain sections of the world right now, it still takes more than 2 weeks to get a part. So I still think that the North America is just basically spoiled. That's just my humble opinion.
It's a society where we have to have it now, and waiting 10 minutes is considered a problem.
Exactly. And then if you go to certain sections of the Caribbean or Africa or anywhere else, the Asia, right? It takes 21 days to 28 days to get a part by air freight.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess I am spoiled. For us, a week, and it's like, oh my God, we got to wait a whole week.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I did 21 days, 28 days to get a part.
Yes. That's what it was like less than 5 years ago. That's basically what it was, right? But with the advancement of logistics, and now you can have a hub in Miami or a hub in New York or somewhere else. It makes it easier to transship across the border. But anyway, that's a whole different story. Please continue, because I'm sure you have far more. You see, the more you talk, it comes over into my special area, and then we can communicate just the same. It only goes to show it only goes to show the wealth of information you have. I love it, man. Continue.
Well, honestly, my life has been in a dealer. I haven't really done anything outside a dealer except for those 3 days when I first started. So trying to get as much knowledge has always been more beneficial. Learning from the advisors, seeing how they do things, and even with parts. A couple times when there's no parts guy around, I learned to use the computer so I can look up a part and I can explain to them, hey, here's the VIN. I put it in. This is the part I need.
Yeah.
Everybody saves time instead of having to wait.
But you're one of the patient and understandable one. Then you have those technicians who will just come and beat down the rear counter. Where's my part? Yada yada yada. I mean, I've seen it.
It's not a good environment when you have people like that.
Yeah.
I know the nature of our business is to serve the customer. And everybody wants their customers served the best and the fastest.
Yeah.
It can't always be that way. There are always going to be some type of problem that will arise where, the part order didn't come in, or the part order that's wrong, or that part didn't fix it.
Yes.
Because the mentality is the faster I get this car out of here, I'm on to the next one to do the next job. So it's been good and bad. But I think for the most part, even as technicians, you see, in the multiple dealers that I've been, you're going to have your good and your bad. And it's that mix that if you can have a good flow of systems and you learn, okay, you know what the advisor's doing, you can help an advisor, or you can help a parts guy. The flow would be a little bit easier as opposed to I just sit here and wait and bitch and moan. Or I'll just, throw a temper tantrum where the customer is, and the whole dealership looks down upon, right?
Yes. And at the same time, that is a part of the environment, as you say, and the strategy that the leadership is using within the company, within the dealership, right? If they are customer centric, customer satisfaction focused, and the paramount about the mission, the vision, the value is respect for people, then you won't have that continuous clash between parts and service and sales and all that. They look at the overall goal of the dealership to know that customer satisfaction is number one. It's our priority. And when you work in collaboration with each other in a friendly and respectful manner, then everything else will flow freely.
That's your goal.
Yes.
Well, we always try, right?
I know, but sometimes it's difficult because of the different personalities that are around, right? And that's just basically where it is.
Yes.
But you went into the changes that you've seen, and we also went into the experiences and the scope based on where you are now. But tell us, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced while honing your skills during that time?
One of the biggest things I found is that because I've moved to other dealers, maybe this dealer wasn't working out and I could found a dealer that was hiring for more money. Usually a dealer doesn't want to give you money, so you move to another dealer.
Yeah.
Will give you more money. But every dealer I found always does things differently. It's the way they've done it, and it's hard for that dealership to change. I don't know why they don't. If somebody comes in new and say, hey, I have an idea.
Yeah.
We don't try that because we don't want to do that here.
Really?
Without even giving it hey, maybe we can try it out and see if it works. Every dealer I've been to, they will always say, no, this is the way we do things. And you have to get into that groove of how we do things here.
Yeah, it is. It's the individual mindset, because one of the what do you call it now, popular phrases for Toyota is continuous improvement. So I mean, if you're talking about if you're talking about a Toyota dealership in particularly, and it is challenging when you're there and they don't want to try new things to see if it works or not, then it is not the system. It's the person, it's the leadership of that dealership, right? That is where the problem lies.
I would say one dealer, Northwest Lexus, my first Lexus dealer, they were always trying to make improvements. We would have every Friday, a circle, they called it Lexus Circle. All the service staff would get together to circle, and they would explain some of the things that have happened for the past week and what they were going to do to actually, okay, we're going to try this. We're going to, okay, we're not emailing customers anymore. We're going to just do phone, whatever they did. They tried every week. We did a Lexus Circle.
Right.
As the morale was kind of not another stupid circle I want to work type of thing. But believe it or not, it made it a little bit nicer because, hey, it's so-and-so's birthday next week, or it's, so-and-so's anniversary. Sometimes you don't get those human connections with other people because as a mechanic, hey, I got to work and I'll maybe talk to the guy next to me, but everybody else, I don't really deal with. So we did have a little more human connection, I found, if the dealership tries to get some type of interaction with its employees. But for the most part, it's always been a individual at a dealership.
Yeah.
Not so much would they, maybe they throw a pizza party here and there, or they had a catered event one time to celebrate something, but that's still not the same as some level of human interaction with each other that dealerships don't really have, because it's kind of cutthroat, where if you're not working on the car making money, somebody else is taking your work.
Yeah, that is a culture itself. That is a culture, right? That is a culture.
Flat rate's been around since, I believe 70s to the 80s. I know people were flat rate back then.
Yeah.
I love this story. A guy that I used to work with in Mississauga, when he started as an apprentice in 75, the door rate was $10 an hour, and he was paid $4 an hour as a mechanic.
Yeah.
So they were getting 40% share of the door rate.
Okay.
So now the door rate, here we are, 2021, a door rate of $150 is an average for a dealership.
Okay.
And most techs are around $30. So that percentage we had of the door rate has gone down over the years. The door rate's been going from, when I started, they were at $90, $95, if I remember.
Yeah.
And it kept creeping up, $10 a year here, $20 a year, it kept creeping up.
Yeah.
But mechanic salaries barely changed. But if you talk to people who don't know mechanics, when they go to the dealer and they see $150, they say, wow, the technician gets $100 an hour. No. It's a perception.
Yeah, it is.
And I found when the dealer wants to give the customer a break, they tend to say, okay, well, I won't charge her for that. As opposed to, so I'll do the work for free, so you don't have to charge a customer, instead of, say, making her pay $100 an hour as opposed to $150.
Right.
So you get a little bit of tug of war between what dealerships want to pay between the mechanic and the customer. It's a little bit of a not tug of war, but I don't want to cut my profits out. So, and I don't want to lose the customer. I want to give them something to make them happy. And where's it going to come from? It'll come from the technician. So I don't know, is maybe the answer going to not have flat rate? Do we go back to how I know there are dealerships, I have a few people who worked out like Walkerton, Goderich area, and they're not flat rate, they're just straight time, but they don't have 30, 40 cars a day, 50 when it's really good. They don't have the same number of clientele that GTA dealers have.
Right. Yeah, so it's easier for them to just pay them a straight salary, because they already know what their appointment system is for on their schedules are for weeks and months to come, because they capitalize on their UIO, which is the total units in operation, which is if you're out in the rural area, you already know exactly how many cars are out there. So they're able to forecast their sales and their budget for the rest of the year on a yearly basis, right? That is how it is done there. But let me move on to the next question. Interesting, because a lot of people don't even understand this flat rate system or the labor rate system and how much is charged. At the end of the day, the customer gets a big bill, they cry about it, but if once the service writer, the service advisor goes around the back and start negotiating with the manager or whatever, then the mechanic is the one who always loses out, right? His money is going to be cut, and then the parts is cut as well, because you're going to be offering a discount on the part, not taking in consideration also the cost of sales that was required to bring that part in. So that is why we have these programs, Attillio, so persons can understand exactly the dynamics that takes place within the dealership, right? It is what it is, right? But I mean, currently, did that challenge now? Are you working around it? Have you put it behind you, or you just move on to the next dealership that is offering more money?
Well, I think I'm at a dealership right now that's actually sees the value of an employee who goes a little bit above beyond what the minimum they ask for. So where I work right now, most of the staff has been there for 20 plus years. There's a few technicians who are into their mid 60s, and their speed is not what the dealership requires.
Right.
But you can't kick somebody out just because they're not as fast.
Yeah.
So they do have staff. Loyalty is very big to this dealership, and because maybe I'm not at that level where they are, where I'm tired all the time, or I just want easy work, I can still go a little bit above and beyond what I'm capable of.
And help out and carry most of the load.
Yeah, so they see it, management sees it, the advisors see it, and it's generated back where I'm never going to be losing out. If I have to do something for free, they've always been able to get my back and give me some time here and there.
Right.
Which I've never had that happen in another dealer. This is the first time a dealership's done this.
So there are good dealers out there. That's basically what you're saying. Yeah.
I found that this dealership, there does carry a little bit less stress, but in the trade-off, they don't have as much customers. Their customer base is less than other dealer.
Yeah.
So I make less money in turn. Whereas the other Lexus dealer was very high volume, a lot of cars, high stress, and I was making more money, but way more stress.
Way more, yeah. Sometimes the stress is not worth it. I tell a lot of people, right? I worked at a company for 15 years, and it was so stressful. Right? You have to, every day it's about the numbers, every month it's about the reports, every quarter is about traveling to another country or a region and give workshops and conferences. And it was just high stress, and the customer volume, and dealing with staff and dealing with customers, dealing with other aspects of the businesses and the sublets and the franchises. And then I found that when I left and went to another dealership, the volume wasn't as high, right? The pay wasn't as the same. Actually, I got a pay cut, but at the same time, no, it was so much more relaxing, being able to do what you love in a more comfortable atmosphere, right? And I found that the management at this other job that I went to, they were more accommodating. They will sit, they will listen. They'll say, "What is it? Anything that you need, just let us know," right? And you get the budget to do what you want. And then they see the value of you bringing in more business, and the more business you bring, They said, okay, that is exactly what they want to see, right? You are the captain of your ship. Whatever you want to do, make it happen. You get that sense of comfort, and they reassured you, and then it boosted your confidence, right? It actually boosted
It
your
makes
confidence.
a manager or someone who's high up enough can actually credit you with actually being able to say, hey, thank you very much. I'm happy for what you did, instead of saying, yeah, I saw you were late one day.
Yeah.
You know, focus on the positives, and I guarantee you that brings out the good in people who would be willing to go further than pointing out the negatives.
Yeah, definitely.
No one's perfect. But I personally respond better to positive criticism than pointing out any negative criticism.
Yes. And I find that with dealerships who handle high volume, it's a very stressful environment, right? They say work hard and play harder, but I think that's all a facade. If you know what I'm saying, because the more money they make, someone at the top wants more. They want a different lifestyle, and then they're gonna pressure you to actually bring in more and do more. If you're servicing 20 cars per day, hey, can you do 25? so the numbers keep going up. The actual numbers.
I think I'm guilty of that too. I think I'm guilty. You know, I could have had one day I made 18 hours, and then I'll be bitter because, oh man, I could have had 20. Really, it's negligible. It's 2 hours, and you're in your paycheck. You won't see that difference.
No, you won't.
But the mentality of it, oh, you know what? I made this amount of hours. I want it every day.
Yes.
And then you have days when you go home with 6 or 7 because there was just one warranty job that really knocked you down because it just didn't pay. It happens.
Yeah. It happens. But based on your many years of experience, what will be some of your recommendations to dealerships now? I mean, we have spoken about the strategies, the attitude, the morale, the motivation, the overall operations itself. But what are your personal views in terms of how would you recommend dealerships going about, making it more comfortable for staff, but at the same time, know what other awareness would you recommend for them to know that for just the everyday customer to appreciate what goes on around the back?
Well, I think part of the problem we have right now is there's nobody coming into this trade. It's really hard to get younger people. Basically, we've been looking for a technician for almost a year because the only people that have been responding to any job placements are people who are not in Canada. Or they don't have any dealership experience. They may have had some car experience. Dealership is not like working at a garage. It is totally different. At a garage, you don't have to be as specialized. You're basically doing just maintenance work. Whereas a dealer, you gotta, especially with the technology coming up. I mean, there was installing Apple CarPlay and all these new models. You had to do a reflash program specifically, otherwise you ruin the hard drive in the radio unit and you're replacing it.
But to go back a little, you touch on the point that trying to get the younger generation to come in, apprentices, so to speak. But why can't the dealerships or the association that is responsible for these individuals, they need to make it more attractive? Because I've worked at dealerships here in Toronto, and the turnover rate for apprentices are so high, all because they're not getting compensated. I know in the old days you had to pay to learn, and that's basically what it is. You're an apprentice for a year and a half, 2 years, and you only get a stipend, right? And you're lucky if you actually get a stipend. You have to walk with your own lunch, walk with your own fare to get back home, everything. You pay yourself to learn. But
I had to work before I even got registered.
Yeah.
They won't even register you. So that's okay. You get the job, but you still have to get registered to make it count towards being a mechanic.
Exactly. So it's just that you can't blame them because of the system that is in place, right? You need mechanics, but so for instance, the ones that are overseas, there are experienced master technicians who live overseas in the Caribbean. I'm going to use the Caribbean because that's my background. And they want to come to Canada. But when they come here, they still have to do the Red Seal exams, right? They have to do Red Seal exams. They have to. Yeah.
I thought they still have accredited from where they are, though. They don't count it?
Yeah, they count it. It only counts as a competence. It doesn't count as a pass.
Okay.
Right? So when they come in, what they do is they have to register here, and then they have to get their transcript to say, okay, they worked with I'm going to use Toyota again. They worked with a Toyota back, and they have to get that recommendation or that letter or whatever. And then they have to get the transcript of the various programs that they did back then, because as you know, every dealerships have their program that they register the technicians, and they go through the various steps and various grades on the various levels of matrification, if you want to call it that. They have to transfer that over so they can move it to a different level, but they still have to come here and do classes and take the Red Seal exams. And then when they take that exams, then they get into a dealership. Then they have to understudy somebody else before they can be known as a certified technician. But the system may have changed a little bit. But I interviewed a guy named Oliver. He had to do his exams when he came here, and he's working at a dealership in Manitoba as we speak. But it was challenging for him to get into the system.
Wow. No, I did not realize how hard it was.
Yeah, it is. So we want people, but we have these barriers in place and to make it, challenging for people who want to apply their trade. That's basically what it is, right? And you saw the turnover rate for you're knowledgeable of the turnover rate amongst apprentices in dealerships. It's just high. It's relatively high.
They don't last. I mean, the money is still at a minimum wage almost.
Yes.
Well, I mean, and it is hard and dirty work. And, you'll get a mechanic who's a little rough and gruff, and maybe they're yelling at you, a little more than they really need to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hey, an apprentice helps you with balancing the tires or lifting them up. You say thanks.
Yeah.
And other guys, like, they don't even say a word. Just, I want you to do this. Do this for me. Do this for me.
Yeah.
And then they sit down and they're looking at their phone, watching the movie while the apprentice is doing the job, and they don't even know what's happening.
Yeah. Because you have those technicians who take advantage of the system. That's basically what it is.
It happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere I went, it happens.
I know. It's tricks and trades, but you're dealing with personalities. You're dealing with people, and it is what it is. But the thing is, it's a revolving door. It's a revolving door in the trade, right? But
even for technicians, not just apprentices. I mean, I've seen technicians say, when they've had enough, that's it. They're totally done working on cars. They don't even want to work on cars anymore. Yeah. The system has made it so horrible for them because of just the constant fighting with other technicians or fighting parts or an advisor. They just don't want to do it anymore. They just do something else.
Yeah.
A good example is, I've seen guys who either want to work for the TTC or want to work for the police.
Yeah.
The Toronto Police, they just get into a job like that, Monday to Friday only. And if you work extra time, you get overtime. It's just easier.
Yeah.
Why would you submit yourself to killing yourself to try to make extra hours? And then, sometimes those jobs don't pay very well.
Yeah.
And there's less maintenance coming up. You don't maintain cars. It's mainly just replacing parts when they break or updating technology.
Yeah.
They're not doing a lot of servicing anymore.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. You're so true. Which leads me to my next question: is that how should we prepare for an ever-changing market like that? I mean, it's coming. Because remember, you go online now and you can order a car right off the internet. That's basically where it is.
Not only that, most of the people that we have, like, that are trained technicians who are working, to make their, 12, 14-hour days, they are trained on changing oil, changing brakes, doing the maintenance stuff.
Yeah.
In what, 10, 20 years, there will be no more gasoline. It's going to be hybrid only.
Mm-hmm. And
that technology is changing to the point where these guys aren't going to be ready. I've seen them. They're stuck on a car for a whole day with a hybrid problem. Yeah, you go to school, you do some training, but it's not bringing in a car and diagnosing. It's not the same like it was with gasoline engine.
Yes. Because with the hybrid, everything has to be plugged in, and you're staring at the computer screen instead of doing real work to go into the engine and take your what do you call it, plastic gauge, and you measure, and you can take down the crankshaft, and you do your sound testing, you put it up on the hoist, you have the wheels running. Those things are going to be things of the past.
Yeah. And I mean, I've already seen it where now anytime there's been a problem, just plug it in and reflash the computer. Right? It fixes a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Until the engine check lights come back again.
Hey, don't worry. We'll get up another reflash for it. We'll change it again. We are doing quite a few recalls of just reprogramming.
Yeah.
Any shifting problem, we're just reprogramming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I see the technology's changing slowly, but it's going towards not having many gasoline engines. I mean, the price of gas going up.
Mm-hmm.
That's another big factor too. We got a Tundra coming out that's hybrid, a V6 Tundra hybrid. No more V8s.
No more V8s. Wow.
The Toyota Sienna, you can't buy a gasoline engine. It's only hybrid.
Only hybrid. Yeah.
I mean, the technology's changing, and a lot of European countries, by 2030, there will be no gasoline engine you'll be able to buy. Hybrid or electric only.
Yeah. Yeah.
So North America is definitely going to take longer, but it's coming.
I know. The world is changing. We just have to adapt. So that's the only thing that is constant in life is change, right? That's the only thing that's constant. So we have to get on board, and dealerships need to recognize that you have to have the strategies in place. What I call it, the infrastructure. That's the right word. You have to have the infrastructure in place, and the infrastructure means people, because without the people, you can't drive the process.
Yeah, better. You need to get the training. That's the problem. Not everybody wants to get that training. You could have a good guy, but if he doesn't want to do something, it holds the dealership back. But if you're going to be in this trade, you're going to have to change.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I'm going to say you're still going to have the basics. Tires are always going to be rubber, so you're going to be having to change tires, and brakes. People are going to. Those aren't going to change, but they're lasting a lot longer.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
So I think maybe Canada, we're lucky. We get rust, but you see cars in Florida, their brakes don't rust, so they last a lot longer.
Yeah. Because I noticed that. When I came here, we're just changing brakes, pads and rotors. You're in the Caribbean, you don't change your brakes for almost 5 years. Right? Your rotors never get changed. The most you will do is you take it to the machine shop and have them just skim it. You skim the carbon built up on the outside or the waves that are there, and then you're good to go. You don't have to change it. Man, it's totally different. Totally different.
Yeah, here it's put everything new, make it better.
Yeah. remove and replace, like you said earlier. That's where we are right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. that's the way people are making money, just replacing parts.
Just replacing parts. But what what are your recommendations for the younger generation? Would you try to motivate them to come in? I mean, seeing that your journey, you've obviously enjoyed your journey. You have a passion for what you're doing. What will be your recommendation?
Not every day.
Not every day. I know, but you're at a comfortable space right now, obviously, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. What would be your recommendation for the younger generation? Would you tell them to come in?
Definitely. I mean, you have to love cars to be working on cars.
Well, yeah, a lot of them love cars. Remember, it all starts out with doing the what do they call it now, the 360 and donuting in the parking lot and all those guys, right? Some of those guys can work on cars, believe it or not. But
yeah, but you have to have some passion to be in the automotive industry if you're going to work. And maybe you got to lower those expectations of being, for me, I remember the expectations where I see people making a lot of money right away. You come into this trade, you're making lots of money.
Yeah.
That was kind of, I liked cars and I liked money. So it was perfect to start right away. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you did make money at the beginning right away, but today, now you're not making the money you used to. Mm-hmm. But if you're coming in young, you have to be able to want to learn, because getting stuck on some type of problem for a whole day.
Yeah.
And you know what? I remember doing this when I was younger and I could get done in a few hours. You're moving on to the next project. And you know what? You'll feel better when you were able to fix it in a relatively good time than I can't fix it. You get somebody else to come over. So getting as much knowledge as you can, I think, is the most important part when you're starting out.
Yeah.
Instead of, okay, let me do the oil change, let me do this tire swap, and then you see a guy with a problem, but you don't go over and look at it or see what's happening. Yeah. Not necessarily, hey, let me help, but maybe asking the questions on what or why he's doing it.
Yeah.
To get that knowledge so that when the time comes, you have some of that experience, because I see it's changing.
You're obviously right. You're 100% correct. I remember years back. Remember back then, I'm not as old as you, but I still have some memory, right? Because back then you had specialization. You had the guy who worked on air conditioning. Then you have the guy who worked on starters and alternators. Then you have the guy who does wheel alignment,
chassis, or
right, the wheel alignment. Now we have master technician who should know everything. However, back to a story about a guy who was just doing auto AC. That's all he did. Evaporator cores, condensers, starters, alternators. That was his thing. And I turned to him, I looked at him and said, yo, why not learn the other stuff? You know, back then they used to rebuild engines. You take an engine down, you take out the block, and then you bore and you go 50 millimeter, 20 millimeter, or you re-sleeve, and you have your main bearings, conrod bearings, the connecting rod, and then you push rods and all it, and you rebuild with the thrust washer and your overall kit. That was real mechanic work back then. They don't make engines like they used to, because those engines were made of iron, cast iron. Now they're all aluminum, right? My gosh, if the temperature probably goes to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, those engines will probably blow up and melt right now. But the point I'm making,
they're disposable.
They don't make them like they used to. And I asked this guy, I said, yo, why not learn all these things? Say he can't be bothered. He's comfortable doing his AC work, whatever. You fast forward 5 years later, and the system changed of how the evaporator core, condensers, and everything was made up, right? When they changed from R12 to R134, they started to make they started to make it a lot efficient, in how the air conditioned operates, right? And then this guy found that he was not getting as much work as that was coming in. And then he turned to me and said, many years after, I saw him at a party or whatever, and he looked at me and he said, he should have taken your advice. He should have learned mechanics. He should have learned to change even a disc pad. That's how bad it was, just to change a regular disc pad, right? So you have to be able to adapt. And one of the things I admired about mechanics, especially the ones who cooperate with each other, and then there's a brotherhood in the shop. They're not afraid to help each other out. You know, you have 20 years experience, you know what it is. You will come over and you will assist the guys in, diagnosing and say, okay, try this way, try that way. This is the right tool to use, and so forth. So there is a brotherhood of learning all these things. And it has to start with the individual. You have to be willing to learn, and you have to have a passion for it. I'm just rambling and going on and on, but I get what you're saying.
There's no way that you'll be able to do everything yourself. There's always going to be a situation where you need somebody to give you a hand or hold this or do something. So even sometimes you're staring at the problem and you can't see it. You have to take a step back and somebody can come over and, oh, it's right here. It takes 2 seconds, and it was staring at you in the face.
Yeah.
So it does happen where you need to work together.
Yeah.
I realize it's flat rate, and it's really hard for the system for you to give up your time for somebody else to make money. But maybe it's been ingrained when I was in a union shop. Working together has always been more beneficial for everyone than making the most hours, right?
Yeah, it is that way. Or you have the passionate guy who he can't solve the problem and he goes home and he sleeps on it, and then he comes back in early in the morning. As soon as you turn up, he's alone in the garage because the shop opens at 8, but he's there from 6. Right? He's there from 6 working on the car because he said, he was doing something wrong and he wants to get over it. But those individuals, they are rare, such as yourself, who have been in it, who can explain exactly what is going on. And kudos to you, man. We have to
thank you.
Yeah, we have to honor and respect the work that you do, and individuals such as yourself who know what it is, right, to get the work done. But I'm going to close off because I don't want to be holding you here and rambling too much and going on and on and on. I'm sure you have the family to attend to, and a nice steak dinner maybe. But Attillio, I want to thank you very much for sharing your story with us, and it has been a pleasure, taking us through your journey. And I hope to.
No, thank you. This was a lot of fun.
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
I said, no, thank you very much. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was, it's nice to be able to share experiences with someone else who enjoys them too.
Yeah, I do. I have a passion for the auto industry, as you may find out, right? It's not all that bad. It's not all that bad. But again, I thank you, Attillio. I look forward to bringing you back, because I'm sure you may have many more adventures to share with us, especially now that you're on a new path.
I think I forgot the words that I remember.
It is what it is. But get the word out if you know of anyone of your colleagues who would like to come and share their story. My channel is open to sit down and listen, and it's a way to the world to see and understand exactly what we're doing and your contribution to our industry.
No, thank you very much. That was great. I will definitely get the word out, and more people we have, the merrier. And hopefully it can shape a newer generation coming in and give them the knowledge to move forward.
Yes. I'm actually going to bring someone next week. Hopefully I can time down a mechanic from Jamaica who actually came into the system. He had to do the red seal. He applied, did the red seal, and started, and he's now working at a dealership full-time here. So I want him to share his story and let persons know the journey for those who want to travel the same path as he did.
Cool. Very interesting.
Yes. So we look forward. Okay. Thank you again, and it has been a pleasure. So do have yourself a good night.
You too. Thank you very much.
Okay. Peace.